It all started with the dream that we all shared, to get generations of the family all together, move to the country to build our forever homestead. We would need a good deal of land, suitable for growing as much food as possible for our large multi-generational family. Maybe we could raise some farm animals like chickens and goats and just live a more sustainable and peaceful life far from the city. It seemed that every time we were together, the same subject of moving together to a large homestead would come up. The more we talked about the possibility, the more real it began to feel. So, with the thought of, well, it wouldn't hurt to look at what's available, the property search began online. Everyone began looking for that one property that had the potential to fit our collective and individual wants and needs. Not an easy task, and I wondered, did there even exist such a place? Not very long into our search, we ran across a real estate listing for an 8-bedroom, 9-bath bed and breakfast on 27 acres of land. The property was about an hour from our separate homes in Ohio, and we wondered, was a bed and breakfast a crazy idea for our homestead? Well, there was only one way to find out. Crazy idea or not, we loaded up the families and started down some quiet country roads heading to view the bed and breakfast for sale. After an hour's drive, we came to the address and drove up the long gravel driveway. And there she was, a beautiful place with a long, expansive front porch with balconies on the second floor, 2 spacious-looking side wings, a beautiful stone walkway led up to the massive, welcoming front door. The inside spacious rooms of the bed and breakfast were just as beautiful as the outside, with plush bedding and antique-inspired furniture. Now, I've been growing food and gardening for many years, and I was most interested in having a property with a very large garden space so I could grow lots of food for fresh eating and also enough to preserve, which is one of my favorite hobbies. So I started my acreage tour at the front of the property. I came across what I thought was, once upon a time, a pretty cool grapevine setup. I'm not really sure if that's what it was. If you have any ideas what it was used for, I'd love to know. Back up to the side of the house, another stone walkway led to a large cement patio with its own set of garden beds. The area definitely could use some TLC, but it could be a great place for entertaining and for the Friday night get-togethers. Across from that patio, buried in those tall weeds, you can barely see a 25-foot garden bed lined with railroad ties, complete with a cattle panel trellis. With some cleanup, this bed would be a great place to grow vining crops like peas and beans. The back of the house was just as impressive as the front. There were 2 more balconies off the second floor, which featured another great view of the back acreage. The first 300 feet of the back of the property was full of 5 to 6 foot tall weeds, and beyond that was a beautiful tree line as you would enter the wooded part of the property. We were told that the cleared but weedy area was once completely wooded, and that years ago all those trees were cut down and sold. If that flat area was cleared of weeds, I imagined that it would be a large blank canvas just waiting to be turned into farming area. The limbs and branches of the trees that were not sold were apparently stacked in a giant mound past the steel gate. Might be good for lining field beds. The property came with several outbuildings. One of the coolest ones, in my opinion, is a very old and weathered wooden barn located on the south side of the property. With some creative designing and sweat equity, there would be plenty of room for future farm animals, which we all were excited to have. There was also an old, open-ended structure which would be great for extra storage. which, with 6 adults and 7 children, we would need badly. On the side of that building, there were 2 old doors opening up to built-in rabbit hutches. Could be used for rabbits or even a chicken if one would need to be isolated. It would definitely need some work. There were 2 sheds on the property, one close to the house for tools, supplies, or winter storage, and another shed near the barn, large enough to house a farm-sized tractor. A bit even further from the old barn was the smaller of 2 ponds. Although currently stagnant and obviously not used for any wildlife for some time, the pond did have many future possibilities. There was a larger pond, I was told, farther back in the woods, which, as a poison ivy survivor, I had no interest in seeing. Well, it was time to head back toward the house and join the others to end the tour. I was curious to find out what the others thought of the place. For me personally, this property seemed perfect for my future plans of blogging and videoing our new homesteading and farming adventure. Now, I had already named the YouTube channel GenAcres Homestead, the Gen for Multigenerational, and it was beginning to look like a real possibility. As it turned out, everyone else loved the place too, which made for lots of excited chatter on the hour drive back home. Next came more family meetings, now a bit more serious in tone as we needed to come to a consensus on whether that property could be our forever multi-generational homestead. And the final decision was... After selling 3 separate houses, the B&B became ours. Now we just needed to get everyone there. After countless trips with moving trucks, pods, and packed SUVs, we were moved in-ish, and the adventure really started. We began packing up the pets. Scouty is our purebred wired-hair Dachshund. She's been part of the family for 13 years. According to my dog year calculation, that makes Scouty 68, so I guess I'm not the oldest member of the homestead. This is my little corner of the world that faces the back growing area. I've sat in that chair many evenings, just appreciating the beauty of the place that I now call home. The inside projects could wait for winter. It was already mid-June, and I wanted to start building the planned growing area right away. The design I had in mind for the full growing space centered around the chicken coop. I wanted the coop placed closest to the house for easy access to the chickens daily. I also would need room for raised garden beds, field beds, composting system, fruit trees, berry trees, a tool shed, and a high tunnel. That was a pretty aggressive list, so it was time to get started. I had made a few diagrams of what I thought the food area would look like, and I felt I needed to clear only a 100 by 100 foot area, I can't believe I said only, for the total growing space and buildings. And this was what I had to start with, my very own Garden of Weedon. The area was densely stocked with 6-foot weeds, including ironweed, the invasive horseweed, who knows what else. So the clearing began over the next month. Not having access to a bush hog, the growing block was cleared with a weed whacker, my Toro mower that I named the Beast, and a riding lawnmower. As I worked clearing the area, I would often see what I thought was a hawk circling above. I imagine we will be seeing a lot of each other in the years to come, as the hawks were sure to notice the chicks next spring. Speaking of wildlife, I haven't seen any animals coming out of the woods, not even a deer, but I hit one on the road near the property, so I know they're around. The property hasn't grown anything here for years, so I imagine it will luckily take some time before the local furries find out we have food growing. This view from a second floor balcony shows just how that 100 by 100 foot area is dwarfed by the total expanse of the back acreage. Tarps were placed to denote where the building structures would go. Here's a look at the cleared space from the back of the property, looking towards the house. As I continued to work on the growing area, another weed clearing was taking place in the side yard where that garden bed with the cattle panel trellis was hidden by all those tall weeds. So after hours of hard work on a hot day, here's the result. We were happy to realize that that area next to the bed seemed perfect for a fire pit next year. What a great addition it would be for parties. And the trellis garden bed was now ready for an early spring planting of peas. With the news that our first farm animals were about to join our farm, it was time to concentrate on some fencing for the arrival of twin goats. The inside of the old barn certainly needed a lot of work. Now, Lee was in charge of the goats, and she really dug in to clean out that barn. So here's the farmstead animals that have joined us in 2024. It was not uncommon before the fences were built for me to watch a goat just casually stroll by my bedroom window. It was a great reminder that I was now in my element on a farm as I had dreamed on for a long time. Come to find out, the goats really love hostas. Later in the season, the hosta leaves became goat treats. One of the new goat fences abuts up against my work area. I was never alone as I worked, as the curious goats would always come and visit me. Speaking of hostas, those of you who followed me through my hosta farm days, you know how much I love hostas. I potted up and brought with me to the new place 40 or so different hosta varieties that I used to sell. Check back next year to see how I will design some hosta beds. After the three goats, our next farm animal to join us was Maple Snowman. She's a Great Pyrenees and a great dog for protecting livestock.
Who's a pretty girl? Who's a pretty girl? Who's a pretty girl? I'm not talking to you, Sherb. Who's a pretty girl?
Once the growing area was finally cleared, it was a very happy day. I rolled out some landscape weed fabric for the full fruit tree row and the berry bush row. They would need some TLC for a few years, then hopefully we'll start to harvest some fruit. Here's what we planted in 2024. Now, I had ordered 2 sheds to be built and delivered to the farm. One was a shed for tools, small equipment, and supplies. The day the sheds were delivered and put into place made for some great entertainment. My twin grandsons and I sat and watched the professional put them in place as we ate our lunch under the tent.
If you try to walk up there, you'd fall down.
The second shed was what they call a shed to coop. Although it was well built, there were a few changes I wanted to make to the inside of the coop before next May, but the changes were pretty minimal. Now, I had 9 Rhode Island red chickens in a small coop at the old place, and with the move, I had to rehome them. I could watch chickens all day, and I can't wait to get another batch. Chickies are free-ranging the last 2 days at Sunset Hostifer. So they're all over the yard. And they're so cute. Oh, there's one. One's in the compost eating, I don't know what. Probably some, oh, I'm sorry. There's one over there. Mostly they follow me around. After the coop was in place, I immediately built a 4-bin compost area across the side of it. With the amount of food growing we were hoping to do, we would need lots of compost each year, and I didn't want to waste any time getting the compost ready for deposits. The July and August heat wave was on some days unbearable. Even as I tried to time my work in the coolest, or I should say less hot, hours of the day, the wacky weather would change from scorching hot summer days to pouring rains. You'll notice the broken tent here. My brand new tent lasted all of a day and a half. I forgot to close it up one night, and a hellacious rain broke the metal braces. Not willing to buy another tent, I was able to fix half the tent to give me just enough room for myself and a helper to sit in the shade. Not pretty, but it worked. Putting together those metal raised garden beds was neither fun nor fast. Luckily, my twin grandsons sat with me under the broken tent, putting them together. After the soil delivery came, we began the slow and back-breaking process of filling them with lots of organic matter, composted food scraps, and the delivered soil. After several days of paid child labor, the beds were filled. Now, we had potted up and brought with us to the new place about 40 or so perennial plants from the 3 previous houses we sold, and these plants needed a temporary home before the end of the year. We tilled what would later be called our pollinator bed, and we got them planted. We'd have to figure out where they'll go next season. The itch to grow something from seed has always been strong with me, and I rarely missed a year. Since it was already late in the summer, though, I decided to just sow some greens and lettuce, since they are the fastest crops. We would at least have some fresh dinner salads. I sowed enough seedlings to start a salad bar table, which I plan to expand on next year. and the younger grands helped me plant more seedlings in a few raised beds. I was really hoping to get them excited about growing food in the years to come. We cleared a 16 by 48 area for the Haven High Tunnel kit I ordered from Farmers Friends. Although it arrived on time, we simply didn't have enough time to put it together, as we estimated it to be a 2-weekend project. Everyone was still hard at work getting the family settled in. So the high tunnel build was pushed to 2025, but all the pieces are here, safely stored, and the chickens shed the coop for the winter. When the buildings were in place, it became apparent that the 100 by 100 plot wasn't going to be big enough. So back to what had become my least favorite job, clearing weeds and brush. We cleared another 30 feet or so to the north, which gave us another 30 by 100 feet of growing space. This new clearing would be for larger field food plots like potatoes and corn, and perennial crops like strawberries, walking onions, and asparagus. We worked on the front house beds as time allowed. As the season rolled along, we were beginning to see what had been planted in them. There were bachelor buttons, pink to dark purple mums, and an assortment of mature hostas, my favorite. Now, so far it sounds like all we did was work the first year, which is really pretty accurate. We all worked really hard, but we did have plenty of fun on the homestead too. There were walks in the woods to explore our new acreage. There were lots of summer picnic lunches, Friday night parties, birthday parties with slip and slides, cardboard box movie theater night, and last but not least,
Yeah, taking a tour of the new area, waving to the crowd. They're heading back to the goat area.
the leaves began to fall, signaling a change of seasons, and the rains moved in for a few weeks, to the point I thought it would never stop. In fact, we got so much rain during the fall that some areas of the field became flooded with little ponds, and it became clear that we will need to rechannel some water next year. Our first Christmas season rolled in, and we celebrated how blessed we all are for living in such a beautiful place. As the cold weather came on, it was time to add some winter protection where necessary, and we called it a season. Now, the end of the growing season is always a sad time for me, but I have to agree that winter does have a way of making the ordinary look extraordinary. So, what's in store for 2025? Well, to be brief, a lot.
So the farm's been put to bed for the winter, right in time for 1 foot of snow. 2025 will be our first full year of GenAcres Homestead YouTube channel. So I hope you stay with us, because we're going to have a lot of homesteading videos coming your way as we hit the ground in early 2025. Thanks for watching. I'm Susan with GenAcres. Make it an awesome day. Hi, Maple Girl. Still getting that in there. There it goes, but I don't have that in the way. This way?